Ned, let's talk a little bit more about the Dome of Deception and the New World Order and how we are being deceived greatly every day by the administration.
Well, just before the break, Sam, you mentioned David Rockefeller.
Yes.
David Rockefeller is, at the age of 93, is the leader of the Rockefeller family, the Rockefeller fortune, if you will. There are now 150 Rockefellers. The family itself has control of a lot of, for example, the oil globally. They're gaining control of the food sources globally. And it's not just the Rockefellers, the family in particular, but there are a number of families that sprung up in this country. When I was young and growing up here in Hazleton, historically, these families, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Vanderbilts, and a number of other families were referred to as the robber barons. Remember that in history? They were the robber barons because they kept so much of the wealth that was created through companies that they owned, and that wealth wasn't dispersed perhaps to enough other people to really allow us to have what we would call a capitalist system. What's happening now is the power and control of these families through their power and control over the banking and the financing itself, not only in this country but globally, through the policies and plans that they're implementing now. They are further consolidating the control financially. And by exerting financial control over all countries, they really control the politicians and the politics of all these countries, and that's what's happening here. Now, the problem here is what I call the Dome of Deception. And I came up with that term, the Dome of Deception, to explain why we're not aware and why we're not educated as to what is going on. Now, we're watching Barack Obama, Timothy Geithner, Joe Biden, Paulson, Bernanke speak to us on camera and tell us what they want us to hear. But we're operating under a dome of deception here because what is really going on in the news that we should know, we're not being told. And you see what's happening, Sam, is from the media, we are being told to carpet each other, and frankly, even and I'm talking about the major media now, they're even telling us to get more excited and passionate in our emotions. Even some of that is even leading us to hatred among ourselves. So what we have now is we have Republicans against Democrats. We have liberals against conservatives. We have pro-life people against pro-abortion people. We have pro-green people versus people who want to drive SUVs. We're being told by the media to pick and choose the agenda that they want to give to us to argue over. So we're all arguing and bickering with each other under that dome of deception. But what's going on above that dome of deception among these global and powerful leaders is that they are, in one particular case, they are destroying the national sovereignty of the United States of America. They are devaluing the dollar because they want to reduce and weaken this country. And you wonder, why would they want to do that? Because their interests are multinational now. These are companies and families that became wealthy in this country. But as early as, for example, the Nixon administration, we had Henry Kissinger going over to China and cutting deals with the Chinese. Now, not only is our manufacturing base moved completely to China, but now China literally owns us. China literally owns us because they have been investing in the U.S. Treasury investment certificates that are now in the hands of the Chinese. So what they brought us to in September was an intentional pulling of the plug on the U.S. economy.
So let me ask you a question. Can you be the only person in the world that understands this? I mean, with the intelligence that we have in the great American people out there who have been able to come up with so many great things in healthcare and innovations and technology and whatever. You mean to tell me that Ned Dougherty is the only person in this world who understands what's going on?
Well, not at all, Sam. It's just that Ned Dougherty is the only one who's here in your studio right now talking about this. And of course, you can't rely on everything that you see on the internet. But there are a number of sites that you can go to, and you can web search the New World Order, or web search the Rockefeller family.
Yeah.
Web search the Council on Foreign Relations. Web search the relationship between Barack Obama, David Rockefeller, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who is actually probably the most influential advisor of Barack Obama. Zbigniew Brzezinski and David Rockefeller are partners in that regard.
But what and I understand what you're saying. I'm being the devil's advocate, of course, you know that.
Yes.
Is why then, with the so-called superior news media, that NBC, CBS, and ABC, with their intelligence, with their great news gathering, and their investigative reporting, why are they not talking about what you're talking about, saying, hey, folks, we may have a problem here. Okay, do they really want to see us running into a new world order? Do they want to see us, fighting among ourselves?
Well, absolutely, and that's all part of the Dome of Deception, Sam. And just to give you a quick history on this, in 1913, these powerful families created the Federal Reserve System, which is not owned by the United States, has no reserves, is not federal, it's owned by private families. These same families influenced Congress to, in the same year, 1913, start the U.S. citizens to pay income tax. The income tax that we pay goes to pay the interest on these loans that are made to the U.S. Treasury by the central bank, the Federal Reserve. These same families, by the 1920s, gained ownership and control of what now amounts to 6, maybe 7 major media entities in this country. They control all of the media. Many of the members of the major media that you see on national TV are also members of this Council on Foreign Relations, starting with Tom Brokaw, Barbara Walters, Jim Lehrer. Many of the major faces that you see on TV are either part of this cartel, if you will, or they are wannabes to become part of this elite group. You see, this Council on Foreign Relations, which is the vehicle in New York City that is used by these very powerful people, it consists of a membership of approximately 4,400, primarily U.S. citizens. And each and every one of these members that's brought into this elite group, they're given an introduction, if you will, into becoming part of this elitist group that has so much power and control, not over this country, but all over finances globally, that any one of us who, as I once did, is seeking a life of materialism and greed beyond imagination, would want to be part of this group, because it's literally, if you will, Sam, to become part of this global elitist group, you have to sell your soul to the devil. And many of these people have. Most of them, I think, are still blinded into not understanding how dark and evil this whole system is.